ProPokemon videos are brought to you by ProPokemon.com. Check out our website for Pokemon articles, interviews and personal deck help. ProPokemon YouTube videos are sponsored by the ProPokemon Store. Get access to restricted information and strategy, as well as private one-on-one poker classes from some of the best players in the world, with over $40,000 in prize support won between them. For a limited time, the first 250 sales from the ProPokemon Store will include an entry into our draw to win a brand new black and white Emerging Powers booster box. Hey guys, I hope you're good and welcome to the first ProPokemon YouTube video. Today, considering US Nationals is only a week away, I felt it would be a good idea to go straight to the best deck in the format, which I believe to be Magnezone Emboar. Now this is my basic list and it's something which I've been messing around with for a while. It's fairly simple, but it's got maybe a few ideas, such as the third Tepig, which not many other people are using, I'm not sure. So I'll run through those in a minute and explain my changes and why this list looks like it does. For those of you who don't know, Magnezone Emboar is a deck which focuses around the synergy with Emboar and the rest of the Pokemon within the deck. Emboar has an ability which means that you can attach as many fire energies you like to any of your Pokemon during your turn. Since all the other Pokemon have high energy cost attacks, it means that Emboar can quickly power them up and they can one-hit KO most Pokemon pretty easily and take 6 prizes very quickly once it gets set up. First up is the Emboar line, which I run as a 3-1-2. You guys might wonder why I run a third Tepig, and it's a good question to ask. Pokemon Reversal is really popular in this format right now. To make sure you can rare candy a Tepig into an Emboar on the following turn, you need to have 2 on the field since your opponent can't knock out both. If you only run 2 Tepig and one is prized or it's been previously knocked out by your opponent, then you're in big trouble because your opponent can just gust out the last one, knock it out, and you're left without an Emboar for a large portion of the game. Now Emboar is mainly in here for its ability Inferno Fandango, which gives you unlimited fire energy acceleration to any of your Pokemon as many times as you like during the game. If you look through the other attacking Pokemon within the deck, you can see that they all benefit from high energy acceleration because they have attacks which require a lot of energy. They also hit for high damage. Next up is Magnezone, which I run as a 3-1-3 line. Magnetic Draw is really great, especially since it's a built-in addition to the deck. You actually can use Magnezone as an attacking force for a lot of the game. Lost Burn does 50 damage for each energy you wish to send to the Lost Zone, and it can hit high amounts of damage pretty easily. The only issue with it is, since they go to the Lost Zone, you're unable to really recover them. And Lost Zoning 3 energy, which is pretty likely to score 1 prize card, isn't going to work out over the course of a game. It's a good idea to only try and take a few prizes with this, and the rest with Rayquaza Deoxys Legend, Reshiram and Tyrogue. That way you shouldn't have any big energy issues, and should be able to see out the game without any problems. Its weakness is a problem, however, and it's weak to fighting, which is seeing a lot of play with cards like Donphan Prime and Machamp Prime. My only suggestion for this is to try and not use Magnezone as an attacking Pokemon in those games, just keep it on your bench for Magnetic Draw. You can try and attack them with cards like Rayquaza Deoxys Legend, Emboar and Tyrogue and try and take the majority of your prizes that way. We run Reshiram as a single copy just because it isn't really the main focus of the deck. However, it's a basic Pokemon which is easy to search out, can deal with a lot of problematic matchups, and it's just pretty useful with Emboar to have in the deck. As you can see, its second attack does 120 damage for 3 energy. Although you discard 2, with Emboar, it's not that big a price to pay. Energy retrieval can get those 2 energy back from the discard pile, meaning that you're free to use them later on. And if you're unable to get both Magnezone and Emboar set up quickly, this is a great way to go to stay in the game. Baby Pokemon have got pretty popular since HeartGold Soul Silver on. Now, they're popular for good reason. Cleffa offers great draw power, and Tyrogue is a great option for all the babies within the format. Cleffa is what we call a crutch card, which means that in a bad situation you're able to search it out from your deck, shuffle your hand in for a brand new one, and possibly wall for a couple of turns while it's asleep, allowing you to set up behind it. The issue with Cleffa is that Tyrogue's really popular right now and is able to one-hit KO it for no energy. This means that if you open with the lone Cleffa and your opponent goes first, they usually have the resources needed to get the turn 1 donk. Because of this, I don't really want to start with Cleffa in the majority of my games, which is why I only play 2 copies, but that gives me enough to become able to search it out if I need to. Tyrogue, as I explained, offers a great donk surprise and should net you several wins during Nationals. The Clef is really popular right now, and the amount of people starting with it will be pretty large, so being able to search it out Telmon makes a great option, and although it's cheap, it's a win. Pokemon Legend cards have always looked pretty cool since they've come out, but none have been too playable up to now. Rayquaza Deoxys Legend breaks that exception, and it's actually a really strong card in this deck. Its attack does 150 damage, which pretty much means you'll be knocking anything out in one hit, and thanks to its Poké Body, it means that you can take 2 prizes any time you do. The issue with Rayquaza Deoxys Legend is that, as a legend, your opponent takes 2 prizes if they're able to knock it out. The best way to get around this is to use Rayquaza Deoxys Legend to take your last 2 prizes of a game. That way your opponent doesn't have a chance to knock it out in return, and that isn't too much of a disadvantage. Moving on to the supporter cards, and we've got Pokemon Collector and Sage's Training. Pokemon Collect has always been pretty good since it came out, and in a deck with multiple Stage 2 Pokemon, a variety of basic Pokemon, it makes a really good play. The issue with Pokemon Collector, and the reason I don't run a 4th, is that it's just a dead draw late game. In the previous format, with cards like Uxie, Azelf and Unnamed Q, it meant that Collector could perform a variety of options, such as giving you draw power, letting you look at your prizes, or giving a Pokemon free retreat. Right now, it can only really get out basic Pokemon, which limits how useful it is, and I don't want too many of these copies clogging up my hand during a game. Sage's Training is really good, although it comes at a hefty price. It allows you to look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose 2, put them into your hand, and discard the remaining 3. One of the most important things about Magnezone Emboar is that you need a Magnezone set up as soon as possible. It's not that big a deal, because once you do, you're usually down to a few cards in your hand and can simply use Magnetic Draw to begin to set up Emboar and any other Pokemon you may need. Now, although the discards are a problem, you do have a lot of recovery cards in the deck which can help to get those back. Energy Retrieval and Junkarm are 2 cards which can fish back trainers and energy and make the discard less of a problem. Judge and Flower Shop Lady I both run a single copy of, because although they're great, I don't want to be drawn into them all the time, and I don't even know how often I'll be using them. Judge has great synergy with Magnezone Prime. It means that you can disrupt your opponent by putting their hand down to 4, and it doesn't really affect you since you can just recover with Magnetic Draw. The problem with Judge is that this isn't really Magnezone's original strategy. I want to be able to take 6 prizes as quickly as possible by hitting hard and knocking out their Pokemon in one hit. Although Judge is great, I don't want to be concentrating on the disruption side, I just want the deck to be consistent and do what it's supposed to do. Flower Shop Lady offers an option to get back energy or any Pokemon knocked out back into your deck. It's really useful to have some form of recovery, and if you're discarding a lot of energy with cards like Rayquaza Deoxys Legend or Reshiram, it helps keep the energy count up and allows you to use Magnezone more throughout the game. Junkarm and Pokemon Communication start off our trainers, and it's pretty obvious why I play both of these. I want my Pokemon set up fast and quickly, and Communication and Candy both let me do that. Junkarm is a really good card in the deck, and because of this I've maximised my count of it. You really need to hit 2 rare candy as soon as possible to set up Emboar and Magnezone. Since you've drawn into one to hit the first, it's unlikely that you'll hit the second quickly, and because of this, Junkarm gives you extra outs to fish back the original rare candy you used and use it again. There's also a lot of trainers in the deck like Defender, which we only run 1 copy of. It means that in a matchup or situation where you need to use them multiple times, you can, and it just gives you more options and flexibility within the deck. Energy Retrieval is pretty important as well. If you're discarding a lot of energy with Reshiram or Rayquaza Deoxys Legend, it means you can get them back and recycle and use them over again. Switch and Defender are both one-offs within the deck. Switch is pretty useful if you have a baby Pokemon which is asleep and you can't retreat it, or your opponent's just gusted a heavy retreat Pokemon like Emboar or Magnezone into the active Pokemon. You can just switch them back and continue with your turn. It's not useful most of the time, so I've only included 1 copy because I don't want it to clog up my hand. Defender's really nice in certain matchups where you can force your opponent to 2-hit KO you, they'd usually 1-hit KO you. Take Reshiram for example. With 2 plus power, which is just about doable, they can usually one-hit KO Magnezone Prime. If you use a defender, they need to hit a further 20 damage, and even if they can hit 4 plus power once during the game, it's unlikely they'll do it again. Defender means that they're having to 2-hit KO you, which severely cripples them in the prize trade-off and means that you can easily secure the game. For Reversal, I run 2 copies of, and it's great to take up a few last free spots with a deck in this current format. It offers disruption, meaning you can gust up your opponent's Pokemon before they've evolved them, and knock them out to only get cheap prizes, but also to disrupt them and put them behind for the rest of the game. Overall, I really like Magnezone Emboar. It's consistent, has a built-in draw power, and allows you to take 6 prizes very quickly. My only issue with it is, I think there's a few cards out there which people utilise that actually give the deck a hard time. Cards like Donphan with Pokemon Reversal, which can gust up Magnezone Primes and knock them out, or Vileplume to shut off Red Candy and the other trainers, mean that it can struggle against certain decks. And I think most people looking to win US Nationals who aren't running Magnezone will make sure their deck has at least a 50-50 matchup against it.